So, I think I'm gonna make an update for the channel since it's been quite a few weeks since I've done anything. If you want to go back and view the springtime videos of preparing the beds and some of this stuff, feel free. We're going to take a walk through the garden. I'm going to mention things in numbers like I did in the spring. Box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on. And we can see what's been going on. So why don't we take a walk? Actually, before we do, here is the earth box that I set up with 3 California bell pepper plants from seed, and they're doing well right here on the patio. Have some peppers going on. Not bad. They say peppers don't like wet feet, but these ones seem to not mind. So let's head over this way. One of my wife's beautiful flower pots is volunteer tomato plant. Seem to have a lot of those this year. I don't even know what it is because it's volunteer. Looks like maybe it's aroma. There's 1 or 2 on there that need picked. Excuse me. The barrel pots with all sorts of wildflower mix and clematis, and even an onion that's been in there for a couple of years. I just continue to let it keep doing weird stuff. So, and this stuff that looks like mint that I just can't figure out what it is, smells like licorice. If anybody knows what this might be, that would be really cool, because it definitely looks like mint, but it's strong black licorice taste. Anyway, got clematis growing up out of the ground, wrapping around the barrel, going all the way up over the trellis. This was an early spring one. It was pink, and it's done flowering. But there is another style in the box that just started growing. It's beautiful. Dark purple. I do sell clematis seeds on eBay, so if anybody's interested, send me a private message, hit me up. This wild thing is a honeysuckle I bought earlier in the spring and planted in this pot. There is, like you can see, plenty of clematis in here. Same style. These ones are growing down from the ground. And there was an early spring one. It's gone now. It was a tie-dye, which was really cool. I'll share some slideshows in a while of some of the photos. I take a lot of photos. I'm really good at it along through the season. So is my wife, but video wise I get so busy with all kinds of stuff, like helping a friend scout for moose in eastern Idaho. He got a once-in-a-lifetime tag. That involved in plenty of racing and car show type stuff for myself and friends. I have a good time doing those type things. Here's my Chad New pumpkin. It's been doing good up until the last couple weeks, keeping it vined properly to try to grow a big one, but kind of stopped growing and it started turning yellowish, and it's not due to lack of minerals and food. I hope I don't have a vine borer. I do stay on top of the squash bugs regularly, but I don't know, we'll see. So here's box one. If you forgot what box one is, you can go back to my previous spring videos. You can see this one's mostly full of just tomatoes. Early girls, 42-day Romas. I think are pretty much all that's in here. And then a couple of straight 8 cucumber plants. And they're doing good. I planted them in the wrong spot accidentally, so I've been having them vine underneath all the tomatoes. So I'm sure I've missed a few cucumbers somewhere, but they're finally going up the homemade trellis out of the old dog kennel side here. And the other piece I've got starting to go up one of my hoop trellises. Got my 50% shade cloth because it's been almost 100 every day and very hot and sunny. And my African marigolds, which I love. They bring in all kinds of pollinators. The neighbor's not doing a beehive this year. I think I mentioned that earlier in other videos. And I was quite worried, but with all the wildflower mixes I've planted, it's brought in quite a few bees. Of course, there's the wasps and hornets and things like that, and I don't mind them. They don't bug me. They actually eat a ton of aphids, so I'm cool with that. Here's the other side of box one. Flip around box two. Actually, potatoes in a sack. I've done 2. One was sort of successful. It only grew small ones, and then I found roly-polies in it, so they were ruined. This one's about ready to be flipped over and checked. Pinched the flowers until they quit flowering, but it's starting to die back, so we'll see what happens there. Potatoes are always a scientific project for me. I've never been successful for some reason. Probably because I don't give them enough time, I don't know. Box 2, got plenty of lemon cucumbers. Starting up the first trellis here. And lots of tomatoes. These are all volunteers, so we'll see what we get. 2 zucchini plants. I don't remember what they are. I think they're black something. They took over the little tag I had in here and pushed it away somewhere, so I can't find it. Either way, it's been producing. It still is. This is a volunteer sugar pumpkin plant. This is usually what's crawling with squash bugs. Put on my World War II uniform and I come out, and wife comes out and eradicates them, helps me eradicate them. Doesn't matter how well you look, how often you look, you always miss eggs and you always miss the parents, but I have found that they come out about 5 or 10 minutes after watering in the evening. They don't like the water, so they do show themselves. So I try to kind of take advantage of that, but it's making pumpkins. That one doesn't look like it's gonna probably make it. I thinned this out pretty good last week, and I don't think it liked it, but I didn't mean to plant. I didn't mean to grow them this year because of the squash bug problem last year, but it is growing a couple healthy ones. Box 2 from the other side. This is just a bunch of stuff that I've cut and thrown down. Looks like the tomato's growing again, even though I cut it and threw it down. Lemon cucumbers, all the zucchinis, tomatoes. This is from kind of inside the box. And up the other trellis. It's doing well. Lemon cucumbers are my wife's favorite and a lot of people's favorites. We were turned on to them by our neighbor friend quite a few years ago, so this is mostly what we grow. I like the regular ones, so I've got the straight 8s going, but lemon cucumber plants, man, they make a ton of flowers and a ton of them. I mean, we're picking a half a box full a day probably at some points, so that's cool. It definitely is good for providing food. We try not to let them get too big because the taste is still good, but the seeds get so big that kind of bugs me. So anyways, underneath the trellis of box 2 to 3, you can see lemon cucumbers all over the place. It's made it almost halfway over. Today's July 29th, I think. These are doing good. This is a box I made out of an engine crate, like I was telling you guys on the last video, full of cut flowers and sunflowers and a couple volunteer tomato plants. That has cut flowers in it and lilies and stuff, and they're done, but it's got a volunteer tomato plant in it. Here's the outside of yard side of box 1. Yard side of box 2. Lemon cucumbers. If you try these guys, you want to take a soft brush and just brush all these little hairs, stingy hair thing off with warm water, and then slice them like any cucumber. Box 2 trellis. Box 3, I think there's 3 Bright Boy tomato plants in here. They're starting to get to the very top of the outside trellis, and I'll start bringing them in to the trellis to meet up with the cucumbers in box 2. But these are doing fairly well. It's just started getting in the hundreds the last 2 weeks here, so and this Bright Boy here is thriving. Of course, these tomatoes have been hanging on this Bright Boy for about 6 weeks, and they're just now getting big and juicy, and the one's starting to get red, so that one's gonna be ready to eat. These are green beans. Bottom is pole beans, so one up the outside of trellis of box 3 that meets with 2, and we get a full, almost a full grocery bag every couple days from this plant. think it's starting to get to the end of its life, though. It's kind of slowed down on making flowers and kind of yellowing up a little bit, but it's beautiful and it's green, so it'll make a good plant for the compost pile anyways. Got more straight 8 cucumbers in here with the tomatoes. And I have them kind of vining. I was going to vine them over here with the tomatoes, but I'm going to run them over here and up this trellis and split it off and go up the green bean trellis. More green beans, up a trellis and up an old tomato cage. This is buckwheat. This was part of my cover crop this year. And I've let this one flower and go to seed just to see how buckwheat works. It's kind of cool. The buckwheat, I'd say it draws in the most bees and wasps, so it's been quite the helper. Box 4. A bunch of my cabbage and broccoli just instantly went to seed. So I think that's what this is, or it's some sort of beans went to seed, but it went to seed instantly. I don't know what the heck it is. I thought it was a bean plant. It's planted where I planted broccoli and cauliflower, but these are more zucchini plants. I think there's 2 of them here. These haven't quite found these plants yet. I think they found the other one. But more volunteer tomatoes. Lots of them. Growing out of control. These are green beans also. Found some white fly or white moth or codling moth, something. Some leaves full of eggs and white moths that flew off a few weeks ago, so part of this plant's dying, but the other part's fine. These volunteer tomato plants are doing well. I notice the volunteer tomato plants are doing 100% better than the 3 tomato plants I planted in box 3. And way ahead of and a little bit better than all the 42-day and early girls in box 1. Plenty of zucchini and squash plants in here that are kind of just creeping around, just barely getting big compared to box 2. This is the box with the maple tree in it that I've been trying to keep into a dwarf, and it's full of corn. They had beans, which didn't trellis. They wrapped around themselves and kind of killed themselves. Sunflowers of a few styles, and tried to do the 3 sisters. So there are squash and or zucchini plants hiding in there. We have harvested from these, even though they're hiding. But the corn, quite a few grew big. You saw me planting those in the last video. Only 4 or 5 of those even sprouted, so I replanted more straight into the box after that, not on camera. And they all sprouted, of course later than the big ones back there, but 4 or 5 days ago maybe, had 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts with a thunderstorm that rolled through, and it blew it all down. So my wife and I got creative with some safety cord that I keep around, because every year it happens, and we kind of pulled the corn back up and hopefully some of it'll live. And some sunburst sunflowers. Some are done, some are just getting going. This was the first one, and the bugs annihilated it within a week and just made it whatever it's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna make sunflower seeds or not, but I just like the sunburst color. Rando pots. Everything's organized. We got our leaf mold here. Made a video about that. It must be doing something. I haven't looked in there, but it's about half down from where it was. So we'll check it next year as far as digging around. Ready compost. Almost ready compost. Pile of sticks with leaves. I've been letting the leaves dry off and kind of doing a science project with creating leaf mold at the bottom, way inside. But I did go through quite a huge pile with my chipper, the brand new chipper I made a video about earlier this spring. The water, leaf mold, and green grass and clippings, K&F is in there. I've already used about half of it and filled it up again. It's doing great. My plants love it. This had cut flowers. They are already gone. We got those inside for my wife because that's what they're for. Asparagus, first year. It's kind of laying over, but it's there. Volunteer hollyhock that I need to cut down, but the blueberries are in there and they still haven't done anything. They actually look very nitrogen deficient, and they are not. I have fed it so much nitrogen the last 3 weeks, it should be dead. But I put a perfect mix of all the micros and macros in there today, so we'll see what happens. Blackberry bush. Didn't know what I was doing last year, and I kept trimming it the way I wanted it, and it maybe only made 10 blackberries, but I'll tell you, they were the best tasting blackberries I've ever had finally this year, because last year they were very bland. So I'm gonna let this bush out a little bit and do its thing. It's in the growing mode now, not the flowering mode. So there's the outside of box 2. I'm sorry, box 3. And all the beans and stuff. I don't know what's going on with this guy. Look at all the pollen on him and stuff. Looks like he's got so much pollen he can't even do anything. What the hell? Or is he eating a bug? Oops, lost him, sorry. Oh, that's kind of cool. I've never seen this. It looks like he's hanging on for dear life with like one arm or something. And he's trying to get... Looks like he's trying to get something off of him. He just fell. Sorry, it's just doing a garden update, but this is kind of cool. I don't know. This guy got too much sticky icky on him, I guess. I don't know. More tomatoes growing out of box 3 on the outside of the trellis where the beans are. And that pretty much concludes our little update of the garden. Don't forget to like and subscribe and show your friends, tell your friends, or if you hate it, don't ever come back, whatever. I'm just kidding. Love you guys. We'll see you soon.